to suffer. Y'all come on. You leave that loser where he is. He's a loser. He's a loser.
P. Ray Easley is founder and chair of Chicago Red, which participated in the protest.
The Chicago Red team goes there and they let them know, hey, if you're not going to help, we're going to do it. You're a disgrace. You're a bully. You can't tell us what to do. If we said we don't want this, we're not going to accept it.
And Easley is pleased that for the first time, the entire city council voted against the mayor.
100% of them said no. So that shows that the message of Chicago Red is starting to permeate the consciousness of the city council, which is our goal.
And Easley says with Donald Trump coming back to the White House, illegal aliens in Chicago are going to be deported. I'm Chad Groening.
More news online at afn.net and the AFN mobile app. I'm Rusty P.
Streaming.afa.net has now become AFA Stream, and you can find it at stream.afa.net. You see, we removed the letters ing. Our experts have determined that eliminating those 3 keystrokes, multiplied over hundreds of thousands of AFA Stream visits, could reduce the national debt and maybe increase the gross domestic product. AFA Stream, formerly streaming.afa.net. Improvements to the economy are purely theoretical. Welcome to Today's Issues, offering a Christian response to the issues of the day. Here's your host, Tim Wildman, President of the American Family Association.
Hey, good morning, everybody, and welcome to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Thanks for listening to AFR on this Tuesday, November the 19th, 2024. I'm Tim Wildman again with Wesley Wildman. Good morning, Wesley.
And good morning.
Chris Woodward.
Good morning.
And Ray Pritchard. How you doing, Brother Ray?
Hey, I'm doing great. Tim, how you doing today?
Doing well. I'm looking at you through the video, which our listeners cannot see. They can only see the 3 of us here in our studio, but you are in your winter sweater, looks like.
I am. It's not winter yet here in Kansas City, but
right.
It's down into the 40s this morning and going down into the 30s tonight. So summer's long gone and fall is fading and winter is coming right around the corner.
That sounded like a country song going on right there. Huh?
Fall is fading.
Winter's coming around the corner. Fall is fading. So how long you had that particular sweater you got on right there?
About 4 days.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Yeah.
Marlene decided I needed to get spiffed up a little bit.
Oh,
you know?
okay.
And so she ordered a couple of sweaters, and this is like maybe the first or second time I've worn this one. But it kind of just,
You call that Argyle? You call that Argyle? Or
I'm
what?
going with that. Argyle looks good.
I think that's a thing.
I think
I remember.
I think it's on socks. Argyle is on socks.
Argyle's on socks. But anyway, it's closed.
Well, Ray, let me ask you this.
Yes, sir.
Have you ventured, or have you been so brave to order your clothes offline, or you just get Marlene to do it for you? Could I refuse to do it?
Look, I have tried. It has never worked.
Yes.
It has never worked. And for whatever reason, Wesley, it always works when Marlene does it. It never works when I do it.
What are y'all talking about?
The idea of purchasing clothes or shoes online only to get them in and go, I needed a half size bigger, or I needed to go down a little small, and then you have to put it back in the box.
No, I go.
The print
I
label.
go to the shoe store. I'm going to the shoe store and trying on shoes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I don't.
But people purchase clothes online all the time, and for them, I've seen Chelsea, my wife. She has no check in her. She has no problems.
Inhibitions.
No. She'll get it, and it's not a sigh for her to go return it back in the box and do it all over again and wait another 3 or 4 days. And I'm going, does that bother you? No,
right.
Just do it.
I hit the jackpot because my wife is she has a retail background.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So you buy your clothes online?
She has bought me several things before that we get in the mail, and then I try them on, and most.
I tell you what, though, the UPS store, they're like magic.
That's what I'm saying.
Huh?
Oh,
You walk in there with your little sticker,
Mm-hmm.
whatever you call it, the scan, the code, not a sticker, but you know what I'm
return
saying.
label.
The QR code.
The QR code. You walk in there. Yeah, and if nobody's in there, you're in there less than 60 seconds. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about to return stuff.
And the private sector can do wonders. Let me tell you.
Return stuff. Anyway, Well, may your Christmas be filled with no returns, ladies and gentlemen.
That's 36 days.
Wow.
For Christmas
I
right
looked it
now.
up.
Anyway, all right, what's your first story, Chris?
Well, as we speak, Republicans are going after FEMA for something we've discussed for well over a week now. For about a week, 10 days, we've heard stories about how FEMA was skipping over hurricane victims' homes in Florida based on the fact that they had Trump signs or yard signs out there. Representative James Comer, a Republican from Kentucky, says it actually goes beyond just Trump homes, but affluent homes or affluent neighborhoods. And I've got some audio here from Comer. We can play clip 2.
It appears that this is a pattern of misbehavior by FEMA employees who were instructed, do not help people in affluent neighborhoods, do not help people with Trump signs in their yards or Trump flags or anything that would give the impression that they were not a supporter of the Democrat machine.
Now, in their investigation of this, Fox has determined the policy to skip affluent homes or affluent neighborhoods may have been based on so-called equity policy. And I've got a little bit of audio here from a former FEMA employee by the name of Chelsea Need, who was on Fox and Friends this morning saying, why is equity even an issue here? Clip 5.
Why is the word equity even in this conversation or with anything to do with FEMA in the first place? As you mentioned beforehand, we help everybody. So there isn't a buzzword or some kind of snapshot description that encapsulates that. Emergency management, as we have an old saying in emergency management, everything begins and ends at the local level. And that's actually what we're seeing. This started at the local level and has escalated all the way up to DC, and now it's going to come back eventually down at the local level to where it should have been in the first place, which was helping everybody within those disaster areas.
Yeah, I know
regardless of flags or signs.
All right, so I got a question. The last I read on this story, it was one person that made a call and everyone else followed suit because she was in charge. One person at FEMA who was in charge, and she has since been fired. What's allowing this story to continue?
The fact that Republicans are going to have a hearing about this, we played the clip from Congressman Comer there. He's the chairman of the oversight hearing. And at 1 o'clock Central today, FEMA Administrator Deanne Criswell is going to be testifying at a hearing about this very topic.
So is it possible that this is beyond one person?
I would think so.
Okay.
In a clip we have not played, and we don't have to, Chelsea Need, the lady we just heard from a moment ago, the former FEMA employee, she is of the opinion that all of this is a Biden FEMA policy. We weren't doing these kinds of things when I worked for Trump or the years before he entered office.
Well, and a problem that I'm reading right here, too, is that the lady's last name was Coates, the one that was fired. Isn't that right?
I believe so.
Yeah, Coates. Well, what I'm reading here is that now, in some ways, she's turning on FEMA. She's saying, look, they've told me what to do. They told me to do this. This is their policy. I'm just implementing it. And so you're going to have I think now you're going to have a war within. So you're going to I wonder if there'll be more people.
A war within FEMA?
War within FEMA.
Whoa. And that's like a movie.
Yeah.
With Tom Cruise.
It would be.
A war within FEMA.
It'd be interesting to see
if theaters near you.
if more people come out from FEMA saying, yeah, don't get mad at her. Don't fire her. She's just doing what we were told from the top down.
What do you think about all this, Ray?
Well, is it credible to believe that this one woman went rogue? Because to say in a time of disaster, right, which is what they are there for, in a time of terrible devastation, is it believable to say this one woman went rogue and said, skip those homes that may have Trump signs and don't go into the affluent areas? That's not credible to me at all.
Right.
I think, Wesley, what you're saying is exactly right, that we need to lift up this rock and let all the roaches crawl out from under it. I think we're going to find out that there was somebody up above this woman who, I could imagine, Wesley, this may not be a written policy, but a spoken policy where somebody said to her, we're not going to put this in writing, but you can skip the homes with Trump signs. Whatever the truth is here, it needs to come out.
Well, now they did do it in writing in text form, but I think what you're implying is like a policy form, right?
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, it's not going to be in the handbook.
Right.
Right.
All right. Turn to page 47 on your handbook here, people. Welcome to FEMA orientation.
We joke like that, but years ago there were under the Obama administration, they did use the DOJ and other places to put hate groups, and then they listed us in there. So that's not too funny, but not too far fetched.
Okay, before we hit the field today, just remember we're not helping any Trump people.
Or fluent.
Huh?
Well, then now they're
fluent. The rich people. You think they're rich? You don't have to help them.
They were going to make discrimination great again.
Anyway, I know, right?
Wow.
Well played.
They got caught, and listen, this is the kind of stuff that you go, surely that can't happen.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And the more the lefties took over the federal government, the more that kind of thing was happening and going to happen, as unbelievable as it seems. And so, listen, I don't know about all the qualifications for all these people that Trump is putting in his administration. Personally, I just say he won the election. He gets to pick. Okay. But all these folks that he's put into place, I'm making a point connected to our story here, that Trump puts in to place in his cabinet, for example, they are going to be the antithesis of what we've just described. They're going to, they're going to fire some people. They're going to fire the wokies and the DEI, the people who are pushed in this far left nuttiness. That is one of the reasons the Democrats lost so bad a week back Tuesday, is because, and this poll after poll is showing this, even Democrats, some Democrats are saying it out loud. Bill Maher, he's a liberal. Do you see that, Ray?
Yeah.
He said, basically he said our side lost because they kept talking about this crazy left-wing nutty stuff. Go ahead, Ray.
Well, look, America decisively rejected the woke craziness on November the 5th. And not everybody on the other side realizes it yet, but some of their smarter people, like Bill Maher, I mean, he's smart enough to at least understand which way the wind is blowing, that the American people have rejected as a policy woke craziness.
What's going to happen now, and this is the reason the left is they're going to get they're depressed right now, but they're probably going to get back in fighting mode, is because if they could do anything to stop it, with these people that Trump has appointed, I'm thinking of Pete Hegseth, for example, who's going to be Secretary of Defense if he's confirmed. First thing he's going to do is go through and get rid of all the
transgender and military gays and
all that stuff's gone. It's gone. He said he wants to revert basically to 1999.
Yes.
DOD, and that's going to what I'm saying is that's going to happen across the board
and
in all the agencies once Trump's people get into place.
And what the opponents are going to have a hard time arguing is the benefits that everyone's going to have when these new policies are put in place. For example, when FEMA reacts on an orderly process of going from house to house based on the destruction, and they operate accordingly, everybody benefits. But right now, when they're selective in who they choose, people get mad. And so when you revert back to, like Hegseth went on doing 1999, when you revert back to just, in this case, in the FEMA's case, just helping people, or in 1999 as far as military goes, when you just operate under protecting the borders, protecting the country, having the strongest, best military possible, when you revert back to those things and you get all the other distractions out, people benefit from that, and it's a good thing. So it's going to be a hard time. It'll be hard to, once you see the results of what they're wanting to implement over time, it'll be hard to be against it.
All right, you're listening to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Tim, Chris, Wesley, and also Ray was with us today. Frank Turek joins us now. Frank is host of Cross Examined, heard Saturdays at 9 a.m. Central Time, right here on American Family Radio, the program Cross Examined with Dr. Frank Turek. And We play it also Sunday afternoons at 4 o'clock Central Time right here on AFR. How you doing, Frank?
I'm doing great, Tim. Hey, I noticed the Babylon Bee has a headline about Pete Hegseth. And here's the headline. Has a picture of him, and it says, appalling. New Trump appointee has zero experience being a useless government bureaucrat.
Oh, that's funny.
Perfect.
That's funny. Hey, what do you? I know we talk about a different topic, but just generally speaking, what do you think about these Trump appointments? He just doesn't care, does he?
I think he has to go for broke because this is an opportunity to reset things. And I don't have any problem with any of his appointees, but it is a legitimate function of the Senate to advise and consent. Yeah,
to have hearings.
Yes, of course. Yeah, and he may get a couple of them through with a recess appointment, which would basically put them in office for 2 years. Most of these people don't stay in for 4 years anyway, so it might be he wants to get Gates in there for just a couple of years and then somebody else will take over. Who knows? We'll see. He gets a right, as you just said, to appoint whom he wants to appoint, and the American people have sent him there to do a job, and so these are the people they knew would come with him. So I don't see what the problem is.
Yeah, I think the first thing too he's going to do is stop the illegal immigration over our border. He's going to shut that down day one. And who was it I saw yesterday talking about one of the stupidest things Biden and Harris did was to get rid of Trump's Remain in Mexico policy. Somebody was telling me that.
Yeah, that was also a sort of a COVID policy as well. You need to stay in Mexico until we figure out whether you truly qualify for asylum, and that after they got rid of that, the
floodgates opened.
Just went nuts.
Then Biden and Harris said, "No, we're going to dump everything Trump did to stop illegal immigration. We're just going to open up and say y'all come." And guess what they did?
Welcome a surge.
It was from around the world they came, and that's one of the reasons that Harris lost the election is because of their stupid policy of opening the floodgates to illegal immigrants. I read yesterday where 200,000 are in New York. That was stunning.
And Mayor Adams isn't happy about that. He said it's cost us billions of dollars, and the feds gave us like $200 million.
Right. That's maybe why he was indicted.
Probably. Yeah.
He was criticizing the Biden administration. So they indiscriminately indict.
That's right.
Democrats, Republicans, doesn't matter. If you criticize us, we're coming after you. Listen, I don't know that. I'm just
in the name of inclusion. Tolerance.
Yes, there you go. All right, so Frank, holiday season is upon us. Thanksgiving, Christmas is going to be here. We're going to be having family dinners, gatherings, and so forth. The topic for you today is how to advance the gospel of Christ at holiday dinners.
Well, first of all, if they're Trump supporters, do not feed them.
That's right. That's it. Well played. I figured you had something like that up your sleeve.
Oh, that's funny.
Starve them out, man. Yeah. Starve them out.
Yeah. Don't invite them. Yeah. No inclusion here.
That's
all right.
Right.
So, all right. Other than keeping Trump, well, that's going to mean then my whole family won't even have Christmas then. Because if we don't invite Trump people.
Nobody's eating.
Trump voters, nobody
This
comes.
is off tongue in cheek about what FEMA's been doing.
Yeah. All right, so go ahead. In all seriousness, there is a time where people gather and
get to see family that you don't otherwise see.
Yeah. Go ahead.
That's right. Well, we're going to have a whole show on this next week. But let me just give you a few things. First of all, I think we ought to pray before the dinner to make sure that that God gives us opportunities to speak in a way that can advance the gospel. And when I say advance the gospel, I don't think you have to get people to the foot of the cross with every conversation. If you try that, it might work, but if you try that, you probably won't want to do it because you'll say it's just too hard to get people to the foot of the cross in every conversation. We always want to harvest when, in fact, maybe we ought to just consider gardening. If we can just say get people to consider the fact that truth exists, it's not my truth or your truth, but the truth. That's progress, right? or just get them to believe that there's a higher power out there. That's progress. Or get them to believe there is a real right and wrong by saying, hey, you seem to feel really strongly about certain moral issues. Do you think those are really true, objective moral issues, or are they just a matter of opinion?
Pass the cranberry sauce.
Yeah, that's right. So I don't think you have to, pray the sinner's prayer with people to do evangelism.
Right.
Just move them toward Christianity, or at least away from the worldview they believe now. So pray you have opportunities to do that. And then also offer to do the prayer at the meal, because even families that don't normally pray at a meal over Thanksgiving, typically they will. And when you pray, insert the gospel in the prayer. Mm-hmm. Nobody's going to interrupt the prayer. Nobody's going to say, hey, you can't say that. Right.
So you got a captive audience, and
That's right.
Okay, you want to browbeat them, basically, with your prayer.
That's right.
Okay,
and say
because they can't resist. What are they supposed to do?
Only if you're a Trump supporter. Only if you're a Trump supporter.
Trump, yeah.
Are we going to pray for you? No.
Listen, in all seriousness, I think it's a great idea that Frank has here, that we use the opportunities that we have, Ray, to share the gospel of Christ.
I got a question for you, Frank. What's one or two things that you don't do, or is there anything that come to mind that you like try to avoid this?
Well,
or not necessarily.
It depends on if you know where they stand on the political issues. If they're so far on the other side, if they have Trump derangement syndrome, you don't even want to bring politics up, right?
Sure.
Because it's not going to go well. You don't reason with people who are so emotional they can't respond to
they'll
reason.
go full into Blair on you.
That's a
Yeah.
good
You know what I'm
point.
saying? The head starts spinning around.
That's a good point.
So
Wesley
why
doesn't
even
know
go
what I'm
there?
talking about.
Yeah, why even go there? I mean, the election's over at this point, and things are probably pretty raw at this point. So there's no sense talking about that at this point. You just want to get people to consider the fact that there is a God. You are not him, and we're all sinners, and we need a Savior. Now, how much of that you can do over dinner, I don't know, but you can also ask a lot of questions. Like when people say things, you don't have to refute what they say. They have to support what they say. So if they say, the Bible's been changed throughout the centuries, you somehow get off on that, say, what do you mean by that? Mm-hmm. Don't go into a dissertation as to why that's not true. Ask them for evidence. First of all, ask them to clarify, what do you mean by that? And then ask them for evidence for their position. Like say, well, what evidence do you have for that position? And see what they say. Yeah. Most of the time, people, they don't have evidence for their position. Mm-hmm. They just have heard a slogan, and they like the slogan, but if you ask them for evidence for the slogan, they can't bring any evidence because they don't have evidence. They just heard something they like.
Okay, I got a question, Frank. To go back to the political, because everything you said is, to me, great wisdom to go into a Thanksgiving, Christmas situation and try to plant some gospel seeds and let God bring the harvest. But what do we do, Frank? If you got family members or friends around the table, people you love and care for, but who are not just on the other side of the political divide, but they have come loaded for bear. Mm-hmm. I mean, you've seen on the internet, on Twitter and the others, do not, cut your Trump supporting friends off. Don't go, looking for a fight. So what do you do at a moment when we're supposed to be there giving thanks to God or celebrating the birth of Jesus, and somebody comes after you personally because they know where you stand? I think that actually, it's not an unlikely scenario for some of us. How do we respond?
I think what Jesus said about turning the other cheek when it came to insults.
Yeah.
That's what you do. You just turn the other cheek, say, hey, I'm sorry you feel that way. Maybe we could talk about it, and see why you think that. I'd love to hear your position on it. Why do you think
or you could go with "you're wrong, get out of my house"? I mean,
yeah.
I'm just saying that's an option. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's definitely on the table.
Yeah. No, listen. I think what the overall theme here is to be sensitive to the situation, and it is about the only time, and maybe another couple of times of the year, where you might gather with people who aren't necessarily you're connected with in one way or another, family, friends, but friends of a friend, but you're not necessarily on the same page
The biggest takeaway for me was what Frank said at the beginning, is to be prayed up and to be aware that you have opportunities. And that's the way of looking at opportunities to plant seeds.
And you could, if they really get,
I have a hard time believing anything you're about to say.
If they really get hostile, I would say get up and do the Trump dance.
Yeah, that'll work.
Now, what you can do here, Tim, and say, you could just, if you want to diffuse it, you just say, now look, we're all adults here.
That's right.
Mr. Poopy Pants.
Right.
We're all adults here. Yeah.
Okay,
So
all right, Ray. Excuse me, Frank. We'll see you this weekend on with.
All
right, take care.
Sounds great. God bless you guys. See you.
That's Dr. Frank Turek with the Cross Examine Show, and it's heard Saturdays at 9 in the morning. It's an excellent show. You want to make sure you tune in for that right here on AFR. We'll be back momentarily.
It's my turn.
Here is your host for My Turn, Don Wildman.
There seems to be a vast swing toward the letter of the law and away from the spirit of law in our society. People are more intent toward making sure that the law has been met legally than they are if the law has been met morally. I guess the deciding factor is that if one meets the law legally, then he cannot be punished, while failing to meet the law morally doesn't bring court action. A pretty good illustration of this happened in Memphis, Tennessee some time ago. Willie Burton left home one morning to see an old, dirty, worn-out 1958 Dodge parked in front of his house. When he returned home from work late that evening, he noticed that the car was still there. And because it was nearly blocking his driveway, Mr. Burton called police. The police told Mr. Burton that according to law, it was not sitting near enough to his driveway for them to ticket it. Mr. Burton then asked the police to move the car because he was afraid one of his 2 children might dart from behind the car and be struck by another automobile. But he was told by police that, according to the law, the car had to sit there for 5 days before it could be towed away. Mr. Burton was certain that the car had been abandoned, but he could not get it moved because of legal technicalities. The law set up to deal with the problem made the problem impossible to deal with. You know, there are several things like that in our world. Take the church, for instance. It's very easy to become a member of most local churches, but because of technicalities set up to protect one's relationship with the church, it's nearly impossible to keep an honest membership of the roll. Most rules concerning membership in the church are set up to protect the membership and to make it meaningful. However, we have completely forgotten the spirit of those rules and have taken them legally. So if a person's name is on the church roll, he is legally a member of the church even if he hasn't been in 20 years or given a dime during that time. The spirit of the rule, that the member be an asset to the church and to himself, is never taken into consideration. Only the legality of the rule. And legally, they're still members, but morally and spiritually, they're not. You know, this type of dealing with things has a very deadening effect on people. It can destroy the very thing we set out to protect. If you don't believe it, ask Willie Burton. The car sat in front of his house for 5 days like the law said. But on the 3rd day, Lisa Gale Burton, age 4, darted out from the car and was struck by another automobile. She was pronounced dead at the hospital. More important than the letter of the law is the spirit of the law, and the method in which we approach it often is a matter of life and death, spiritually as well as physically.
This has been My Turn with Don Wildman, a production of the American Family Association.
Therefore, preparing your minds for action and being sober-minded, set your hope fully on the grace that will be brought to you at the revelation of Jesus Christ. 1 Peter 1:13.
American Family Radio. This is Today's Issues. Email your comments to comments@afr.net. Past broadcasts of Today's Issues are available for listening and viewing in the archive at afr.net. Now, back to more of Today's Issues.
What was it you showing me right there on the video, Wesley? People may want to check that out. It's
a Macarena Donald Trump remix by Bo Marcus. I don't know Bo Marcus or what all he's done before now, but he's gone popular. He's got.
Is it viral? What? It's a video, Ray, of Trump
doing the Macarena.
Yeah, dancing.
Okay, I like it already.
Yeah, it's funny. It's funny. It's
a remix of the Macarena.
Yeah. Anyway,
it's pretty funny.
What's happening right now is that a lot of the NFL players and NHL players are doing
the Trump dance.
The Trump dance in the end zone, and or on the hockey ice.
This song goes hand in hand with the dance.
Yeah, it's funny. All right, you're listening to today's issues on the American Family Radio Network. Tim, Wesley, Chris, and Ray. And, it's Operation Christmas Child is going on right now. And we wanted to talk to somebody that had been personally impacted somewhere in the world by the generosity of Christians who make the shoeboxes and then send them around the world. And so we have on the phone with us Alex, I'll let Alex pronounce his last name. Hey, Alex, this is Tim. How you doing?
Good, Tim. Thank you so much for having me this morning.
What's your last name?
My last name is Senjimana, Alex Senjimana, born and raised in Rwanda, East Africa.
Okay. Well, welcome to our program.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Are you joining us from the U.S. or are you in Rwanda?
I currently live in Boone, North Carolina, and where we're getting ready for the busy season of Operation Christmas Child.
Tell us your story.
Yeah, it is such a joy to share how the ministry of Operation Christmas Child made a difference in my life. I was born and raised in Rwanda at a time when tribal unrest was at its greatest. But through that turmoil and that tribal unrest, God was always with me, protecting me. Unfortunately, when the hatred started in the country of Rwanda back 30 years ago, hatred was created, and that hatred resulted into a genocide that would take 1 million lives, and over 40,000 orphans were left in the country. During this time, as a little boy, 6 years old, my grandmother and one of my uncles were among the people who were killed during this genocide against the Tutsi tribe. And me and my brother and my sister would find ourselves running from place to place, from family to family. But along the way, God was doing so many miracles to protect us. For example, when men's weapons didn't work, and then another moment when I would fall and the bullet would miss my head by an inch. Miracles after miracles. But it was during this time that I had, lost all hope, running for my life. But after the genocide, I was put in an orphanage. And while I was in this orphanage, this is 1995, the genocide took place for 3 months in 1994. In July, when it ended, one of the first organizations that responded to what was happening was Samaritan's Purse. And Samaritan's Purse is an international evangelistic organization that responds to different disasters around the country and around the world. So they responded, and while they were helping people physically, a year later, they brought Operation Christmas Child shoeboxes to our orphanage. And Tim, that's when for the very first time in my life, I got to receive a gift, and it was an Operation Christmas Child shoebox gift.
How old were you again?
I was 7 years old when I got to open that shoebox gift. And all of us kids in that orphanage were so excited. We were told to line up in the yard. So we lined up, and they hand out the gifts. And then they said, don't open your gifts until all of them have been handed out. So some of us had to hold our present for about 5 minutes.
Oh.
Such a long time for a 7-year-old. But we were excited, screaming of excitement.
When you opened the box, I got a question for you. When you opened the box, what was the first thing that you pulled out, and then what's one thing that you used the most?
Yeah, one of the first items that I pulled out was a little bouncy ball and a hair comb. A hair comb was my favorite item that I kept the longest, and that was very special.
Again, this was what you were 7 years old, and we're talking 90s, the 1990s.
1994.
Yeah. So, and you're at an orphanage, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all the children receive these shoe boxes. Were the shoe box that you received? Did you know what country it was from?
Yeah, when we got to receive the Operation Christmas shoe boxes, the orphanage director shared with us that these shoe boxes were coming from the United States, and we lined up in the yard, and it was our first time, so it was so special for a 7-year-old lost all hope, and all of us, 250 of us, lining up. And as they told us to hold our shoe boxes, we were so excited, and they were telling us this gift from the United States, and it was so special. I'll never forget that day. But the impact that the shoebox gift had on our lives was that the orphanage director used that opportunity to share with us about Jesus Christ. And the seed of the gospel was planted in my life. Even though I had lost everything and I lost all hope, God reminded me that someone out there was thinking about me.
Wow.
And I was not forgotten.
You know, in ministry... go ahead.
Ray, go ahead, and then Wesley. Go ahead.
Alex, this is an amazing story of God's grace. Now, you're on the other side, so to speak. Now you are a part of Samaritan's Purse, and you're part of the Operation Christmas Child Ministry, which goes to children all over the world.
Yeah.
How in the world did you get from that 7-year-old boy to doing what you're doing today with Samaritan's Purse?
Yeah. After receiving the Operation Christmas Child shoebox gift, the seed of the gospel was planted, and that's when my life changed. A year later, I joined the choir, and I left Rwanda. I was in Uganda, and while I was in Uganda, this is when I got to be discipled. Many people, mentors, came in my life to challenge me, to help me, to disciple me. So then I came to the United States and traveled for 2.5 years. I would meet a family, and in 2003, I got adopted into a family in the United States. And God sent me to the coldest part of the country, Minnesota. And I grew up in Minnesota going to high school. But I packed shoeboxes in high school with my friends, and would pack shoeboxes every year. And then in 2013, I moved to North Carolina to serve with Operation Christmas Child, because I get the privilege of sharing the experience of how a shoebox gift is being used. Operation Christmas Child partnering with the local church worldwide to share God's love in a very tangible way using the shoebox gift. Then,
Alex, if I could, I want to ask a follow-up question to that, because I noted, I looked over your bio, and it said there's the number of incredible things here, but one really caught my eye. It says that while in Rwanda in 2013 distributing shoeboxes, you also had a chance to visit in prison the man responsible for taking your uncle's life. Tell us about that moment, and tell us why you did that.
Yeah. After receiving the shoebox gift and a seed of the gospel being planted in my life, and learning about how much God loved me, and having people to point me to the gospel, I realized that I would never have peace, because I was so angry for many years, living in bitterness of anger towards the people who killed my family. And when I got discipled, and I realized I would never have peace, so I started to pray. Actually, one of my mentors asked me this question. She said, what would happen if you saw the person who's caused you pain? And I remember thinking I would do exactly the same thing. They killed my grandmother and my uncle in front of me, and I would definitely do the same. And that scared me, that I was thinking of doing exactly the same thing. So I prayed for over 12 years, and I wanted to be part of the initiative that the government of Rwanda was putting together, bringing reconciliation among the people who killed and the victims. And so I prayed for many years, and I pursued those opportunities to do that. But twice I did and didn't happen. So in 2013, I had the privilege of traveling to Rwanda with Operation Christmas Child to deliver shoeboxes in the same orphanage that I grew up in. And it was on that trip that actually I got to go to the prison, and I found out that the guy who killed my grandmother fled, but the guy who killed my uncle was still there. And it was divine appointment of how God opened doors for us to be able to meet the person and be able to share with him that God loves him as well. No matter what he's done, if he prays to God for forgiveness, he can be forgiven. And for me, that was a special moment, hard moment, but special to hear the other side of the story and be reminded that he and I are loved the same. And that's the gospel I was missing out in my bitterness and my anger. So I share that to give God the glory for what he's done and continues to do, bringing reconciliation and healing people. And my journey started when I got to receive that Operation Christmas Child Shoebox gift that planted that seed of the gospel when I was 7 years old in 1995, living in an orphanage. And this is the same message that each and every shoebox gift that is packed sends to a child around the world in partnership with the local church. And thank you. I'm passionate. I love what God is doing, and I'm grateful that he granted me that opportunity to experience my own personal healing. And it's exciting to be able to share so that one more shoebox gift can send that gospel message to another child.
You've heard how impactful it was for Alex to receive his shoebox. And with that said, we want to remind you that this week and through the 25th, so began yesterday, November 18th, through November 25th, is National Collection Week. It's National Collection Week, so it may have snuck up on some of us, but you still have several days left to turn in your shoebox. You can go to SamaritansPurse.org/OCC. We also have the link up on our AFR.net website, and we can post it other places as well. That's SamaritansPurse.org/OCC. There, all the information, including where you have a drop box near you. There's 4,700 locations nationwide. Many, many local churches are drop box stations, so you can go check out more information on that. There is some things you're going to want to know about what you can and can't put in the shoebox, and all that information is there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, listen, thank you, Alex, for being on with us, and what a wonderful story. I mean, it was sad in many respects, but it's also redemptive and hopeful in other ways. And so, by the way, welcome to the U.S. How long have you been here?
I've been here for about coming to 21 years now.
Your accent hadn't changed.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Neither is mine.
That's right.
It's what you grow up with.
Yeah,
That's
we
right.
love it.
Yeah.
It's my Minnesotan accent coming out.
There you go.
That's a good one. All right, Alex, take care. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Alex grew up in Rwanda. You been to Africa, Ray?
Yeah, I've been to Uganda, which is next door to Rwanda. A lot of the refugees from what happened 30 years ago came into some to Kenya, some to Uganda. What a story of redemption and of reconciliation and forgiveness. And I don't suppose we need to say anything except about Operation Christmas Child. We're behind it 100%.
That's right.
We believe in this ministry.
What a great idea. So simple.
Yeah.
Yet reaches people, millions of people every year around the world.
And it's not always we get to see the direct impact instantaneously or even within weeks of a ministry opportunity that we get involved in or participate in, but this is one of them. Mm-hmm. This is one of those where you get to see, but we get to see videos of it, but people get to personally see the firsthand impact of delivering the shoe boxes and kids open.
And if you got kids, right, or grandkids, that there's if you got little children, how can they help reach other people for Christ?
Right here,
fill in that shoebox.
Yeah.
That's you can talk about what it means and why you're doing it, and pray for whoever's going to receive it.
I do want to point our listeners to our Today's Issues Facebook page because we have the frequently asked questions or FAQ page, which includes the dates and deadlines when you can drop off shoe boxes. That's one thing on our Facebook page. We also have the story that Alex just shared in longer written form, so do check that out and get more from him on what he just shared.
Yeah, what a story. Came to the U.S., moved to Minnesota. Lived in Minnesota, he said, and then now lives in Boone, or at least he's in Boone, North Carolina. That Boone is the international headquarters for Operation Christmas Child, right?
It is.
Right. That's their biggest distribution center is there in Boone.
I'd like to go see that sometime. I know we've had a couple of our staff go see that. You know, when it's at its max right now, you know, when they're taking these boxes in from across the country and then distributing them around the world.
It's an enormous operation, enormous.
Yeah.
And well, what a simple way that ground level way people can get involved in reaching children.
Yeah.
In places like an orphanage in Rwanda.
Yeah. And to Samaritan's Purse's credit, I mean, they're about 2 hours-ish from Asheville, where they've been helping people with the flooding from the hurricane, and they're still doing this. They are a well-run, well-oiled machine there that keeps on ticking.
Very organized.
All right, next story, Chris.
All right. There is a Democrat from Massachusetts by the name of Seth Moulton. He's a representative, and he's one of the few Democrats that actually thinks it is wrong for males to compete in female sports. A lot of Republicans have long argued that we shouldn't have males in female sports, but it's rare that we have somebody from across the aisle join them in that criticism. But Representative Seth Moulton of Massachusetts is one rare example there, and he's been taking a lot of heat. He's been on Fox a lot, too, talking about the problems with males and female sports. Here's one of the latest sound bites of Democrat Representative Seth Moulton, clip 10.
Well, look, I'm not afraid of protests. I mean, people protest out in front of my office all the time because they think I'm too pro-Israel, for example. And so protests are okay. They're part of freedom of speech. But you're absolutely right. We just need to be willing to talk about these contentious issues. I'm not anti-trans either. In fact, I have a strong record of supporting trans people, including trans kids. And this isn't about trans kids either. That's another criticism I hear. Look, my kids are young. They play on co-ed soccer teams, just like I did when I was their age, too. But when they get older, when we're talking about competitive sports, you know, when people are a lot bigger, it's reasonable to have restrictions. That's why the NCAA has restrictions. That's why the Olympics have restrictions. And yet, for some reason, because of some orthodox litmus test in our party, we're not even supposed to entertain the idea.
You know, I have said this before, and I'll say it again. Democrats are a big reason why we have Title IX in the first place, and this is one bit of evidence on why the Democratic Party that Tim grew up with is not the Democratic Party of today, because they're clearly ignoring what they did for women 50-plus years ago.
Yeah, now who was that fellow we just heard?
Democrat Representative Seth Moulton from Massachusetts.
Okay. And he's still very liberal, you could tell by his comments. But he said he draws a line at, I would assume he's talking about after puberty, or at least, you know, junior high.
Right.
When the distinctions between male and female become very pronounced in terms of their physical strength. And what he was saying, Wesley, was basically this is one of the reasons Democrats lost, is because we're trying to force feed the American people something they know is fundamentally unfair.
That's exactly right. And you're seeing a trend of this, as you mentioned, beyond just red states or just beyond Republicans, and people outside that may have been in the middle or may even be liberal in other issues are saying this is too far. I don't think this goes much further than, I don't know how much more they could potentially push this for two reasons. One, you're the general public, the majority of the public is against it. Number two, you're getting to see a taste in small dosages of what this looks like in real life, with the injuries of women going up against men in sports as well. So I don't know if it could go. I feel like we're kind of peaked out on what areas they can implement this or try to put this in. I don't see this going much further. It may stall out for a little bit, but I kind of see this going backwards the other way.
Right.
You know, we had Riley Gaines on the program several months ago. She is such a good proponent of what you might call old-fashioned common sense, right? You don't mutilate children. You don't do that. If somebody's 24 and they make some decision, we may disagree with it. We may think it's sad and even regrettable and evil, in fact. But we understand when you're 24, you make some decision and then you have to live with the consequences. But you don't touch the kids. You don't touch the kids.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
You just don't touch them. And get the boys off of the girls' volleyball team.
Right.
Right. Just get them.
And out of locker rooms, too.
And also,
locker rooms,
yeah. In addition to the pushing the transgendered issue, that is we're supposed to all pretend like boys or girls because they say they are, is, and that doesn't work. When you, Wesley, you're right. When you're talking about, okay, you're going to say the boy can play on the girls' sports team as long as he calls himself a girl, and that includes not only getting out on the soccer field, for example, or in on the basketball court or volleyball, whatever the case may be, but also you get to go to the showers and the changing area,
right,
and ride in the van. So I mean, there's so many invasive places that boys don't need to be, where girls are gathered, but if the boy says he's a girl, he gets to go there. And Riley Gaines talked about how that was uncomfortable. So the good news is there's been a
backlash.
Total backlash to this. Yep. People who have common sense don't like being called transphobes or haters or bigots, and that's been turned around for the better now that with the election results. Go ahead.
Oh, one thing that I've mentioned before is that if you're an adult, so is it 18 and up, sports for 18 and up, if transgender people are so adamant about having to be able, wanting the ability to compete in sports, to just have a third category.
Right.
Transgender
Right,
people.
yeah, you could do that.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know, but they don't want to do that. But
I know they don't. Yeah.
And how come how come you never see a girl?
Knock on that.
A girl who said, how come you say you never see a girl who says I'm a boy make it to the NBA?
That's right. Yep.
Because it only proves what we all know to be true, that boys and girls are physiologically different. We all know this is like
bone density, muscle mass.
Yeah. All right. So that's good news. And also, what's big news is too, folks. Remember, I told you about the Title IX federal government funds through something called Title IX, and that's when Biden and Harris said, if you're a state and you're going to get federal dollars through Title IX, which is supposed to support women's athletics, right? Women's
equal spaces and opportunities in sports.
Anyway,
prohibit sex discrimination in educational programs and activities that receive federal funding.
Not just sports.
Correct.
But anyway, so the federal government doles out this money to all the states. Well, Biden and Harris said, you know what, states? If you don't let boys play girls' sports, we're not giving you any of the money that you would otherwise get. So basically, they were threatening them.
And Title IX is supposed to be is for
advance
women.
Women's sports.
Even when there's not necessarily a huge fan base for it, they want to give them an opportunity to at least compete in some sports for women specifically, and now men are taking.
But whoever takes over the HHS, who's the?
It's RFK is who Trump wants in there. HHS. Department of Ed is up in the air at the moment.
Okay, that's cabinet level position.
It is.
But he'll reverse that. The Trump administration, through RFK, they'll reverse that, what I just said that Biden and Harris were trying to do, which is another good news as a result of the election a week ago Tuesday. You're listening to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. Chris, we got about a minute and a half or so.
Yes. I'll go around the room. Early Friday trivia. What famous event in American history happened on this day in 1863?
Thanksgiving?
You're talking.
Gettysburg Address.
Okay, that's one guess.
That's the Civil War.
Civil War
period. You talking about what took place?
Yeah, what took place? What happened on this day in?
Okay, Ray, it's a good guess, but that Civil War, Gettysburg Address would have been at least 1965 because that's when the war ended. I mean, 1865 rather. I'm gonna.
I'll let y'all be the silly ones. I'm not saying anything.
It may have something to do with the Civil War. It would probably have something.
Yeah, what you're
Am I right?
You're both right. It was during the Civil War, obviously 1861 to 1865. Ray hit it right. U.S. President Abraham Lincoln, on this day in history, delivered the brief but renowned Gettysburg Address at the dedication of the National Cemetery in Pennsylvania during the American Civil War. That is from Britannica, which is an encyclopedia people still consult for information.
So he delivered the Gettysburg Address before the war was over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
1860.
Yeah,
All right,
the
Ray,
bat-
I stand corrected.
The battle was in July of 1863, and November. He came to dedicate the National
Yes, he did.
Cemetery.
7 years ago, Ray was hitting the books.
Anyway, well, that's a good trivia question, and Ray, way to go there with the answer. I usually don't strike out on
Trivia.
History.
Yeah, history
trivia, especially American history trivia. I don't know if I struck out right there. I think I fouled a couple balls off.
Yeah.
You know
You're
what I'm
not
saying?
back in the
You
dugout.
knew it was Civil War.
Yeah, you're not back in
I
the
was
dugout.
Civil War, so I fouled the balls off. I'm ready for the.
You're
another-
Civil War, right?
Okay, yes. All right, we're going to return momentarily with more of today's issues on American Family Radio. Steve Paisley Jordahl will join us.
The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast may not necessarily reflect those of the American Family Association or American Family Radio.
Faith, family, freedom. American Family Radio.
All God asks of you is faithfulness. Headlines in USA Today, just see it this morning. All the odds are against us. Faithfulness is the word.
There's a place for you on the battle line. Engage in the fight for America's families. Visit AFA.net and then take your position. A message from the American Family Association.
This is American Family Radio, a listener-supported ministry of the American Family Association.
American Family News, I'm Rusty P. House Republicans discussing their policy plans for 2025 during their weekly press conference today. House Majority Leader and Louisiana Congressman Steve Scalise saying he recently spoke with multiple committee leaders to discuss the party's priorities when President Trump takes office, adding they have already discussed some of the plans they intend to implement.
We're now planning for the policies that we would put in place as a Republican majority with a Republican Senate and the White House under President Trump to get our country back on track, to focus on lowering costs for family at the grocery store, at the gas pump.
President Trump announcing his latest cabinet nomination. Rich Edson reporting from West Palm Beach, Florida.
Trump has selected his transportation secretary nominee, former Wisconsin Congressman Sean Duffy. He would take over from a Biden administration that has faced massive supply chain disruptions as the economy returned from COVID, a train derailment in Ohio, a bridge collapse in Baltimore, and a series of other rail and port challenges. Of Duffy, Trump writes, quote, "He will prioritize excellence, competence, competitiveness, and beauty when rebuilding America's highways, tunnels, bridges, and airports. He will make our skies safe again by eliminating DEI for pilots and air traffic controllers."
President Trump announced last week that he will tap his campaign press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, to be the next White House press secretary. One name that had been mentioned for the job, Trump attorney Alina Habba, says the job just wasn't for her.
I, in fact, spoke with her prior to all of this and said, look, I don't want that job. I never have. It's just everybody has things they want to do in their life and check off. And I love working for President Trump, but not necessarily as the press secretary.
The Coalition of State Attorneys General wants federal lawmakers to pass a bill aimed at protecting kids online. But detractors worry it would prompt censorship. Eben Brown reports.
Attorneys general of both parties from 32 states are now urging Congress to pass the Kids Online Safety Act before year's end. It is intended to mandate more parent and content controls for kids using social media. The bill already passed with more than 90 votes in the U.S. Senate, but its future isn't promising in the House of Representatives, where conservative members fear the bill's language could allow for partisan censorship of online media. A House version of the bill has already passed out of committee. Eben Brown, Fox News.
They may have graduated from high school, but female athletes from Connecticut still have an argument to make against males in female sports. Chris Woodward has more.
Connecticut has long allowed males to compete in female sports, and Selena Soleil, Alana Smith, Chelsea Mitchell, and Ashley Nicoletti argue they lost opportunities having to compete against males. State officials wanted the case dismissed, but as we reported on AFN, a federal court this month in Connecticut allowed this case to move forward. Alliance Defending Freedom attorney Rachel Rouleau.
That policy is still in place, so they can still advocate for women's sports in Connecticut because currently there are still males competing in women's sports in Connecticut. So those girls They said that they had the opportunity to continue, and they should be able to continue with their case because it's still incredibly important that Connecticut's law be changed. And so we're going to continue fighting on that front.
The case is filed as Soleil v. Connecticut Association of Schools. Relo says it will spill over into the new year.
Now that we're able to argue it on the merits, we're going to have to go into a discovery process, possibly even a trial. This will take definitely a little bit of time.
I'm Chris Woodward.
And finally, fewer workers say they're thriving, according to a new poll.
Gallup has released its Life Evaluation Index and says 50% of workers surveyed say they're thriving, while 45% say they're struggling. Another 4% say they're suffering. Gallup began measuring how people rate their current and expected future lives in 2009 and says this year's number is an all-time low. The poll of about 10,000 full-time workers also found those who are not thriving experience higher amounts of worry, anger, and employee burnout. 28% of U.S. workers already said they often or always feel burned out at work. Tanya J. Powers, Fox News.
More news online at afn.net and the AFN mobile app. I'm Rusty P.
The cell phone is the new transistor radio. Just like your grandfather may have carried his radio wherever he went, you carry your phone with you all the time, which means you can listen to American Family Radio anytime you want with the AFR app. You'll find live talk programming, 24-hour Christian music, and access to podcasts of all your favorite AFR shows. Just go to the App Store and download the AFR app for free. Your grandfather would be proud.
Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildman, president of the American Family Association.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to today's Issues. We got 25 more minutes, a lot of more topics to cover coming up. I'm Tim Wildman with Wesley Wildman and Ray Pritchard, raising KCKS, and we're in TUMS.
Tumas.
We're in Tumas. I don't know. I don't know why I did that. I just
you were trying.
I want to do something different.
It's worth a shot.
You know what I'm saying? Steve Paisley Jordahl joins us, not donning a Paisley shirt today.
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be a while. I had shoulder surgery. Man,
yeah.
It's a hard thing to say.
You had knee replacement about 3-4 months ago. Now you're shoulder?
Yeah, and it just made sense insurance-wise to do them both in the same year.
Sure.
Oh, well, that's true.
Yeah, so that's why I had that done.
So you have your arm's in a sling and it's inside the shirt.
My arm's in a sling. It's inside the shirt. I can't put a button down.
Can you drive?
I can't drive my Mustang, but I can an automatic.
The Mustangs are not power steering.
No, the Mustang is standard transmission. It's not. It's stick shift.
First of all, Steve,
Dad,
you got a Mustang. I am so jealous. I am so envious. So you're even cooler than you were before, right?
I do love that car.
So what'd you do? Your shoulder is a rotator cuff?
It's a rotator cuff surgery. We kind of covered it a little bit yesterday on the air here. It's an old injury, and I finally got it taken care of.
It's from his sports days. What was youth?
Yeah, Noel, I did it pitching little league practice to my son, who is now 34 years old.
Oh man!
You remember when you did it?
I do. I don't remember the exact pitch.
You've had that injury ever since?
Yeah.
Why did you decide to get it done now?
I'm getting older, and it was getting more sore. It's just, okay. I mean, I could live. I mean, it was on and off. Some I would go for months without it hurting at all. I wasn't playing baseball or doing a whole lot, but then
they have medical marijuana for stuff like that now.
Yeah, they do.
Huh?
Wow.
I'm just saying.
I know.
It's a new day at AFR.
I missed an opportunity.
Well, here in Tupelo, I know we got 6 dispensaries for every 10 people.
So
because medical marijuana is just so
it's everywhere.
Go ahead.
This is the difficult thing. It's not that sore, and I'm able to do it doesn't affect my voice.
Yeah.
But I want to play an experiment with you guys, and anybody out there who wants to play along. Grab the mouse with your off hand. If you're right-handed, grab it with your left hand.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
And just go ahead and open up a web page, and then try to type in an address
with your left hand.
Yeah. No, you can Yeah, type it in with either. Just using the mouse with your offhand is almost impossible.
You're showing us what your life's like.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's the one thing. This is the most difficult thing about the surgery is using a mouse.
Yeah,
It just-
I quit in this deal.
It's so much muscle memory. You don't think, oh, I got to press the right button, the
Right.
left button.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just you do it because it's muscle memory. Well,
My shoulder's hurting just listening. Was the doctor pleased? Surgery success? Everything going to be okay?
It was worse than he thought when he got in there. He said that my bicep was shredded. I don't know why he used that, but it took a little longer than they thought. But yeah, I think it's successful. Right now, it's been in a sling, and I haven't done anything with it, and I won't until, well, probably.
You got a new arm, the major leagues, they'll have their spring training.
That's right.
Coming up. Hope springs eternal.
Yeah, go down
like
there.
rookie of the year, right? Go
Yeah,
get
that's
surgery
right.
and come back throwing 97.
Hey, I wanted to, before we jump into the stories, there's a fun story which does have something relative to do to the change in the mood in our country. I was reading it on Fox News. Do you remember a football player for the Chicago Bears named Brian Urlacher?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He was like an all-pro. He's a Hall of Famer.
Yes.
Anyway, I'm not sure what age he is. He looks to be about 45 maybe. But he played, 10 years or so for the Chicago Bears. He said that, let me quote you, but he's talking about the fact that pro athletes now are doing the Trump dance. And he said that he supported President Trump in the election. He said before that, he said before the election, he said people were scared for a while. You don't want people to talk bad about you. How we've been talked about the last 4 years if you're a Donald Trump supporter, he told Jesse Waters. He said, quote, I think now no one's scared anymore. It's nice to see that these guys coming out and everyone who's a silent Trump supporter, he said talking about Trump under polls anyway. I think they're just excited now that he got the job done and he's going to get the job done again for the next 4 years. So what he's saying is, as a former pro athlete himself, that especially in that level, that sphere, not necessarily where we are as quote common folks, but in that sphere of Hollywood and entertainment and big business, it's almost all controlled by liberals, right?
Yeah,
almost.
a lot of it, yeah.
Not all together, but pretty much. And,
the institutions in this country are largely liberal.
And if you are in that entertainment business, including pro sports, and you speak in support of anything conservative or anything Trump, then they're going to pounce on you and try to cancel you, right? That's what we've seen that happen before. Well, what Brian Urlacher is saying is that's over. That's done. Thank goodness. People can be for who they want to be and don't have to worry about their career ending.
Urlacher is 46 years old.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is not just in sports. It is in every area of our society, and it's really a sea change. It's more than just a political thing. It's a sea change. The media, mainstream media, made a living off of hating Donald Trump his first term. Their audiences boomed, and it was like the resistance, and they were revolutionary and cool and forward. Well, now they're just wrong. I mean, they're not only just wrong ideologically, but they're factually wrong about everything that they said, and no one's going to them anymore. They're dying because the resistance is fading.
Anyway, that's good to see that now in sports, especially the professional sports, they don't feel like they're going to be punished if they have a conservative or pro-Trump position. You know what I'm saying? And they're not. I'm looking at Brock Bowers from the Raiders, your team, Steve.
Yeah.
Doing the Trump dance after he scored a touchdown.
Better watch it because you're not going to see a lot of those for the Raiders.
Oh, touchdowns?
Or dances, yes.
Okay, well, maybe. All right, next story, Steve.
All right. We talked yesterday about the vote counting in Pennsylvania. They're still challenging this Senate race between between Casey and
McCormick.
A Republican is ahead, but I played audio. I don't have it this morning, but I played audio of an election official. The state of Pennsylvania, the Supreme Court in Pennsylvania, ruled before the election that you had to count only proper mail-in votes. They had to be signed. They had to be dated correctly. They had to be in before the election time. They had to be double enveloped for privacy, all this stuff. And if they weren't, then you can't count them. Well, this election official yesterday was saying, everybody breaks the law, so I don't care. So we're just going to go ahead and do it anyway.
She's from a Democrat county.
She is. Near
Philadelphia. That's a surprise.
So yesterday, the state Supreme Court, the Pennsylvania State Supreme Court reaffirmed its decision. It was a 4-3 ruling Monday that counties cannot incorrectly dated or undated ballots, cannot count incorrectly dated or undated ballots. The decision it singled out the boards of election in Bucks, Montgomery, and Philadelphia counties. And Governor Josh Shapiro has set out a message to these people: you will comply with it.
Yeah, kudos to Josh Shapiro.
Yeah.
Is it Josh?
Josh.
Okay, he's the Democrat governor of Pennsylvania, and he is siding with his own state Supreme Court on the right side to say to these seemingly rogue, at least one of them, do you know her title?
She's an election official. That's what I've been saying to her.
Yesterday, she said, remember we played that, and she said, do we still have that?
Can you go?
Anyway, she said, well, listen, we're going to count these votes. We don't care if it's legal or not. Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that's what she said, Ray. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, but that's what she said. We don't care.
So evidently the law just doesn't matter anymore.
She said that everybody bucks precedent all the time, so I'm not going to pay attention to it. And she was kind of calling on.
But she said the law.
Yeah.
She used that expression, the law.
Kind of calling
Everybody breaks the law, so I'm going to break it too.
She was calling on the courts to come after her. I dare you.
Well, they did.
Wow.
Well, I'm just saying.
Wow.
I'm saying good for the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania and good for the Democrat governor, Shapiro, for speaking out on this forcefully. And so, is this the end of it? Are they going to certify McCormick, the Republican, as the winner now? Or are we going to go on with more recounts and stuff?
Well, I'm not sure why
How does
they
that
would
work?
pay attention to the second discipline from the Supreme Court if they didn't pay attention to the first. In other words, I don't know why she would stop unless Shapiro can fire her.
Okay, McCormick, it was a very, very, very close race. Very close race. And McCormick won by 30,000 votes.
17,000. McCormick has defeated by some 17,000 votes in the state.
That's not very many.
5%.
That would trigger a recount in a state the size of Pennsylvania. I don't know how many people voted totally, but that's narrow. That's razor thin. I don't blame the Casey, the Democrat, for challenging and wanting a recount. It's probably already
it's not
by law.
It's an automatic recount at that close.
All right, next story, Steve.
All right. Wow, we're getting an escalation, some very kind of scary things going on in the Ukraine-Russia war.
I want folks to listen to this because hopefully this won't get out of control. But
so President Biden approved the sale or the use of U.S. long-range missiles fired from Ukraine into Russia, beyond the border, into Russian territory. And they did that yesterday. They did that. They launched, or over the weekend, they launched 6 U.S.-made, their ATACM missiles into Russian territory. Russia says they shot down 5 and damaged a 6th. It said that the debris landed near a military facility, kind of indicating that maybe these were targeted to military targets, not civilian targets. But according to a U.S. senior official, Biden's decision was spurred by the Russian decision to invite 10,000 North Korean soldiers to fight against Ukraine. And Biden, and now Putin has upped the ante again, saying, okay, nuclear weapons are not off of the table. This is escalating very quickly. So
President-elect Trump has a plan to end the war between Ukraine and Russia. For a year now, he's been saying he could end it in what did he say, 24 hours?
Yeah.
Now, that's hyperbole. We understand that. I would guess it would be.
Unless he's working on it now and has a deal that, like the hostages in Iran, When Reagan first came into office, if he has a deal that they're going to consummate 24 hours after he's elected, then he can say,
okay, here's my point.
Yes.
I like that, Bo.
And
I was following you.
And I'm being serious about this, okay? Because there's already been hundreds of thousands of people have died on both sides, Russians and Ukrainians, because of this war. I mean, it'll take a generation or two to rebuild and to move forward and get anyway. Here's my point. They are seemingly tinkering on a war that could become regional, that could become nuclear. Is that the way you pronounce it? Sometimes I mispronounce that word. I acknowledge that, but anyway, it could get really serious for that part of the world in particular. Okay, now, here's my point. If Trump he's President-elect Trump now, right?
Yes.
He's going to be officially in charge in January of diplomacy and our military. If he has a plan to end the war, I would say do it now. I would say if I were Biden, I would say I would invite Trump to take over. I know this sounds crazy, but take over the negotiations and end this before it gets out of control, because we have nobody in control because Biden's not. You see my point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen though, and that's not even an option because Biden. You had a double negative there. You just say get Biden
better than a triple negative.
That's right. But if Biden can't, if Biden's as bad as you said he was at the end of your statement, then he couldn't possibly do that at the beginning where he would invite Trump in to help.
Okay, then go to World War III.
Well,
I mean, I'm just telling you.
That's where
I'm just telling you. If you got a plan and we're in an urgent moment, then let's execute Trump's plan now, because he's going to be president in 6 or 8 weeks anyway.
But
why wait and let the world burn?
I'll tell you why. It's an optics thing for the Democrats. I think you're absolutely right. That would be the way to go. But the story then would be that Donald Trump comes in and saves the Democrats from starting World War III.
What's wrong with that?
Oh, well, nothing if you're a Republican, but if you're one of these never Trump Democrats that just think that he's
That's
Hitler.
just stupid.
Well,
that's just stupid. And go ahead, Ray. What do you think about what I'm talking about here?
It's a good idea, Tim. It is not ever going to happen in this lifetime or any other, because if you put yourself in Joe Biden's place, what's his motivation to do that? I mean,
stopping a regional war.
Yeah, I know, but look. What happened? I'm still chewing on that bone. What happened in July, in that weekend where somebody came and pushed him out? Right.
Yeah.
We still don't really know the story on that. So then the person the woman Kamala, she gets badly defeated by Donald Trump. I will say this: Trump and Biden looked pretty friendly in that White House visit. Right. Mm-hmm. Lasted for 2 hours. So no, I just don't think it can happen. But let's put the pieces together. It's already next door to a world war when you've got troops from North Korea,
right,
thousands of miles away,
right,
thousands of. There's no need for North Korean troops to be fighting, except somebody wants to escalate this, and now you've got Ukraine firing these long-range missiles, and just this morning, then in response. Putin says he's lowering the bar for using nuclear weapons. We can't go too many more steps before something truly terrible happens. It's not. Do we all agree this is not worth launching a world war?
Okay. Well, all right. I understand what you're saying. Listen, I was putting an idea out there. I think that would be helpful.
Biden and his administration has no incentive to want to stop the war.
Right now, CNN has a highlight. What they are showing is that Trump, look, he's fallen below 50% on the popular vote. They are still attacking this guy relentlessly. The Democrats are. They are not going to let him.
How far is that getting them, Steve? What's the scoreboard there?
It's all they got.
I
It's
agree
all
with
they got.
It's dumb. It's self-defeating.
Biden was it like 30 something?
All right. What about this? And then I'll be quiet about this. Okay. What about this? If you're Donald Trump,
right,
President-elect Donald Trump, why not have a press conference today or whenever in the near future, the next week or so? Have a press conference and announce, as he has been doing with these videos, which we played some of them. Trump policy videos, which some of them are excellent, like his one against having to deal with wokeness in education. That was outstanding. I would do a policy position on Ukraine and Russia.
It may be coming.
Yeah, I would say this is how I end the war. If I'm Donald Trump, I would say this is how I end the war today. I tell Zelensky, the president of Ukraine, hey, you've done admirably to fight one of the biggest war machines in the world, that is the Russians. But your days, you can't continue on. You must give up a third of your country. What's wrong with that? Just say you got to give up a third of your country and the war's over. Or we can keep fighting this till the last Ukrainian's dead.
Didn't work so well for Czechoslovakia in 1937, 4, whatever.
I'm just saying, am I wrong to say that Trump has said he could end this war in 24 hours?
No, you're exactly right.
Okay, then let's hear it. Because now's the moment, is what I'm saying.
Yep.
The world.
Well, this is a delicate time, though, Tim. I mean, while we're talking, we're closer to World War III than we have been, right? This is a volatile situation over there.
Right.
So the president-elect has got to be careful in this interim time not to be seen to trying to upstage the sitting president. I mean, that's just part of the deal, right? Got to be careful what he says.
All right. Well, anyway,
Rubio.
Trump's known for that.
Both your ideas are good ideas. The second one actually may happen.
What's that?
Don't you think? That the one of Trump calling a press conference and making a statement on the Ukraine situation. I think that's possible.
I can't remember all the details, but I heard Marco Rubio comment on this issue on behalf of Trump and how they will with negotiating a settlement and that the war will end. And so the
world will end.
The war. The world.
I'd be worried there. Marco Rubio's
That's a big difference.
Marco Rubio's already said
We're
the world's
sell
going
it
to end.
The world's going to end.
I don't know if we want him as our Secretary of State.
Sure
That's not very positive.
It is not.
Yeah.
But he did comment on this in the last 3 or 4 days, and he has on behalf.
He said what I said. He said he
did.
Marco Rubio said I'm not for Russia, but Ukraine's going to have to give up some land for peace.
Yeah.
And I just used the term 1/3 of their country.
No, it's about that with Crimea and the Donbass.
Yeah, just give
right.
In order
you already have the Russians in control of that territory.
Anyway,
right.
So
better than everything at this point.
Yeah. Go ahead, Steve. Next story.
All right, let's discuss a little bit about our RFK Jr. He has been billed as being anti-vax. Everybody's accusing him of being a conspiracy theory, that he doesn't like vaccines and everything. There's a lot about him that we could discuss and don't have time to, but let's just deal with the vaccine issue. And I want you to hear what he has to say himself about his attitude towards vaccinations. Cut 11.
I've never been anti-vaccine, but everybody in this room probably believes that I have been, because that's the prevailing narrative. All my children are vaxxed. I'm fully compliant with the vaccine schedule myself, except for COVID. I took flu vaccines for 20 years straight. I have never been anti-vax.
I even thought he was.
Yeah.
Huh? I didn't know his whole story, but that is the prevailing narrative. But he's saying he's not.
He's for you choosing which vaccines you want.
I got you.
Right.
I got
which for the.
Right. Instead of being forced on everybody.
Right.
But he
which
did
for
say,
some people is being anti-vax. Right.
Yes.
But he did say he didn't take the COVID shot.
Yeah.
Correct.
Why not?
Well, because it's not a vaccine.
All right. Yeah. That's good answer, because that's the question. That's the point.
Also, too, he he wanted to wait and see the short and long-term effects of
experimental drugs.
Yes, that's what it was.
And it looks like he won't be taking it anytime soon.
Yeah, does it? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's all I think anybody was for is if you want to take it, take it. If you don't. Talking about the COVID shot, but don't fire people, make them lose their livelihood because they don't want an experimental drug in their system. Just respect their right not to, especially when it doesn't stop you from getting it or stop you from spreading it. Huh? Good night. All right, Ray. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Thanks to Wesley and Steve and Chris Woodward, Frank Turek, Brent Creeley, our producer, and
our guest Alex from
Rwanda. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce Alex's last name.
Don't do it.
All right, have a great day, everybody. See you tomorrow.
So right now may be the perfect time